let's take a moment and talk about something fun. Let's talk about introductions. Now, I already told you that if you have a group of 8 people or so, that it's best to not jump out of a cake or anything like that. I mean, if you have rock music playing and you jump out on stage and there are only 8 people there, I really think it just seems odd, and it's going to set an odd tone, in my opinion. However, if you have a large group of people, I'm talking about 100 people or more, and then you want to have loud music and you just come out and you're all pumped up and everything's great, that makes more sense to me. However, I want to tell you that it's best, in my opinion, to always have someone introduce you. So whereas you don't always have to jump out from behind stage, you can be, as I said, you can greet people at the door and then go up on stage and talk. But it's best if, even if they've already seen you greeting them at the door and so forth, it's best if somebody else introduces you. Now, why is that? Why would it be best if somebody else introduces you? The reason is that when you introduce yourself, if I were to say, hi, I'm Steve G. Jones, I have a doctorate in education, and I was on the board of directors at the Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association. I've been teaching NLP and hypnotherapy for over 20 years. What does all this sound like? It sounds like bragging. It sounds like boasting. It sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, especially if I go on and on and on with it. But there's something magical that happens when somebody else says it. Suddenly it doesn't sound like you tooting your own horn, even if you're standing right next to them. And I've been in seminars, sometimes small intimate groups of 10 people. I've been in larger groups of hundreds of people. And sometimes I've been standing right next to the person who's introducing me. I'll go to walk up on stage and they'll want to say something about me, and I will have already reached the stage or somewhere around there, and I'm standing right next to them, listening carefully to everything they say, because I'm fascinated with all the things they're saying about me. And it's interesting because if I had done that, if that was coming from me, it would sound boastful. It would sound like I'm bragging, and they would say, what is going on here? Why is he going on and on about himself? About how many things he's done, how many books he's written, how many TV appearances he's had, and so forth. It takes all of that away from you. All of the negative part of that is taken away from you when somebody else does it, even if they're reading something that you wrote. And that brings me to my next point. When you are introduced in a classroom situation, or when you're giving any kind of speech or seminar about anything, this even goes beyond NLP, it's always best if you give that person something to read. Don't rely on them getting information from you from the internet or from somebody else, or just saying what they think is true about you. Give them the information. Have a bio printed up that you can put in their hands, and it's best if you can give that to them ahead of time, several days, and make sure they read it. Make sure they know what they're going to say. Because one of the worst things that can happen, this happened to me several times, is that they get to certain names. For example, I worked with Tom Mankiewicz, the writer of Superman, and they stumble on a name, Tom meh. So make sure you iron out all of that. If you think anything is going to be a challenge, just eliminate it. You don't need to have everything in there. But you want to have enough information in there so that people get a really good sense that they're in really good hands. You want to have a powerful introduction that is bragging, that is boastful, because you're not doing it, so it takes all the pressure off. Because the audience needs to be engaged. They need to understand that the person who's about to talk really knows what they're talking about, and they have a lot of experience, and there are a lot of things about this person that are really wonderful. So this person who's introducing you, it's their job to sell you basically to the audience, to tell all the great things about you. Then if it's a small group, I recommend fewer than 100, you're there already. More than 100, you've got rock star status, okay? You've got my blessings to crank up the music, to do something with the lights if you want, and to come in from off stage all pumped up and jumping around if you want to do that. Okay, so that's what happens at big seminars. But if you do that at a small one, It may actually just raise a quizzical eyebrow or two, and that's about it. So keep that in mind. That is the proper way to introduce yourself. So number one, have someone else do it, always, if possible, have someone else do it if they're available. Number two, make sure they have a sheet that they're reading from and not just saying things that they think are true. And number three, the entrance, keep in mind the entrance. More than 100 people, rock star entrance, 100 people or fewer, then you want to just be there in the room.